Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well so far this semester. As you can see, I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit, but we wanted to make a video and just so say hi to everyone. Hope you're doing well this semester, and talk a little bit kind of about where we've been so far in the textbook, some major concepts that we hope you're kind of soaking in and recognizing and thinking about how it pertains maybe to your industry and the future of your industry and the future of education. And so, but before I get into that, I just wanted to let y'all know we did confirm with Dr. Nat Irvin. He will be coming to be a guest speaker um, on October 28th. So if you can mark your calendars for October 28th, still got a little bit of ways away, but it'll be at 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Mountain Time, and then of course your appropriate time zone wherever you may be located. So once again, Dr. Nat Irvin, October 28th, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I will upload. I'll unlock one of the modules that pertains to Dr. Nat Irvin. That will give you a little bio about him and just what he's gonna talk to us a little bit about. And so, as we get closer, we'll remind you. But we're gonna encourage everyone to have at least one question, at least one question per person. But if you have multiple questions for him, it's always good to be engaged with guest lecturers, guest speakers. And so, this is a cool opportunity that you may not get at a lot of the different institutions. So, without further ado, I wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about where we've been in the textbook, and especially just looking at the future of the professions. And you've probably seen that there's a lot of changes going on already. A lot of changes even since kind of the creation of the first professions back in even medieval times into the 1600s. But even now and today in 2019, our professions continue to change. So how did they define professions? They looked at it as having kind of four overlapping similarities because there's kind of that debate of what is a profession, what counts as a profession. And so there's still that kind of conversation, but four major overlapping similarities discussed in the textbook. They would need to have specialist knowledge. Admission to the profession is dependent upon credentials. Not just anyone can go into the profession. You must have those proper credentials. Their activities are highly regulated. So, if we think about education, higher education boards and accreditation agencies, and then bound by a common set of values, typically a set of ethics and morals. Many professional organizations have a set of core principles or set of standards. So then we moved into kind of two major theories of the profession. You have your functionalists who say each profession kind of plays like a role of an organ in our body. Our body is made up of multiple organs that do functions, and so the professions are made up of multiple types of roles that help us as members of society. And that's where they come in. They start discussing the grand bargain. Is the grand bargain working? And that's a question they pose in the book, and a question I would pose to you. In the authors would kind of make the claim that it's not working. That a lot of things are not affordable. We look at healthcare, we look at education, we look at a litany of different commodities and goods, and things seem to get more and more expensive. And so, is that grand bargain working, and is it necessary anymore? Especially with the advent of AI and robotics, and just there's a lot of things that you can kind of do on your own now, such as looking at WebMD for symptoms. You can do your own taxes. You could do even you go to buy a house. You could do a lot of that on your own. So our realtor is still necessary. That's what the functionalist would say. Each profession plays a role. Then there's the tradists, which kind of are more concerned with exhaustive checklists of professions and their important characteristics. And so there's not a real good, solid, this is what a profession means, but those are the two major theories. So then we kind of moved into chapter 2, and then they started listing out the different professions. And if you didn't find your profession in there, obviously that doesn't mean you're not in a profession. But start thinking about how is your industry, or maybe your future industry, what are ways that the industry is changing. And what are ways that you can kind of see it. So healthcare, obviously affordability. With robotics and AI, percentage of misdiagnosis are down. Looking at education, that's very much changed the whole idea of the sage on the stage and the professor just lecturing for an hour, hour and a half, to using technology to do group work and videos and all sorts of different role plays. They talked about MOOCs at Harvard having in 1 year more students enrolled in MOOCs at Harvard than their entire 377-year history. So I thought that was a really cool thing from the educational standpoint. And then obviously I mentioned before, tax and audits. You can do all your taxes online through TurboTax, and you could still get assistance if needed. So you don't have to go pay hundreds, sometimes maybe thousands of dollars for a tax accountant. You could do that online through software. Then it talked about, and kind of where I'll stop for today, looking at the different labor models. And an idea that I hope you all see, and I think really resonated with me, was the decomposition of professionals. And so, especially working in higher education, I have seen this to where, directors, associate vice presidents, vice presidents, I still think they're highly, they don't want to let go of things. They're doing things that they feel are necessary, but really they probably could decompose those tasks into more either more routines, or giving them to paraprofessionals, or even professionals in lower level. We talk about delegation, right? So I think that the labor model of kind of decomposing major tasks, I think continues, and we see that in our industries. And then finally, and I like this concept, they talked about that most goods are rivals, so which means that if they are consumed, then there's less for others. Now, that's not true for knowledge. Knowledge is non-rival. It means I can have all the knowledge in the world, or you could have all the knowledge in the world. That doesn't mean someone else needs to have less knowledge. And I think that's where the concept of access to higher education, or an access to education, is very prevalent, and why it's talked about. Just because a professor has all this knowledge, or just because a medical doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, or any other type of profession, just because they have that knowledge doesn't mean, or shouldn't mean, that they are the only ones who have that knowledge. So hopefully you all have kind of started really diving into the text, and it's interesting, especially someone not being very familiar with technology and AI, and it's interesting to see how a lot of these industries are a little reluctant to technology, but also I think there's starting to be more accepting as well, to especially with routine tasks, as they talked about, and automation. So I hope y'all are once again having a good semester so far, and look forward to continuing to work with you all in this class. And if you have any questions for Dr. Freeman and I, just contact us. All right. Hope y'all have a great day.